China in the mid-1960s was a nation brimming with tension. The streets were bustling with people, yet beneath the surface there was a palpable sense of unease. The shadow of the disastrous Great Leap Forward still loomed large. This period of forced collectivization and rapid industrialization had left deep scars on the nation. This ambitious economic and social campaign, launched by Chairman Mao Zedong in 1958, had resulted in widespread famine and hardship. The countryside was littered with failed communes and broken dreams. Millions had perished, casting a dark cloud over Mao's leadership and the direction of the Communist Party. Families mourned their lost ones, and the collective grief was overwhelming. Against this backdrop of discontent, a new storm was brewing. The people were restless, and the air was thick with the possibility of change. Mao, convinced that China was veering dangerously towards capitalism and revisionism, called for a radical transformation of society. He believed that the revolution was losing its way and needed to be reignited. He envisioned a cultural revolution, a period of intense ideological purification and societal upheaval. This was not just a political campaign, but a call to arms for the youth of China. Its aim was to eliminate any remnants of the past and forge a new China, purged of its old ways and firmly rooted in Mao Zedong thought. The Red Guards, young and fervent, took to the streets to enforce this new order. The Cultural Revolution officially began in 1966, plunging China into a decade of chaos and violence. The initial enthusiasm quickly gave way to widespread disorder. It was a period marked by mass mobilization, political purges, and widespread social and cultural upheaval. No one was safe from the sweeping changes that were being enforced. Schools were closed, intellectuals were persecuted, and ancient traditions were condemned as bourgeois and counter-revolutionary. The very fabric of Chinese society was being torn apart. From the bustling cities to the remote villages, the Cultural Revolution touched every aspect of Chinese life. The reach of the movement was all-encompassing, leaving no corner of the country untouched. It was a time of fear and uncertainty as neighbors turned against neighbors and children denounced their parents, all in the name of revolutionary purity. The social fabric was being ripped apart, and trust was a rare commodity. This period would leave an indelible mark on China's psyche, its scars still visible even today. The Cultural Revolution's legacy is a complex tapestry of pain, loss, and a nation's struggle to reconcile with its past. To understand the Cultural Revolution, one must understand the man at its helm, Mao Zedong. Born in 1893 in Shaoshan, Hunan province, Mao grew up in a peasant family. His early experiences with poverty and hardship shaped his revolutionary ideals. A revolutionary leader who had guided China to victory in the Civil War and established the People's Republic in 1949, Mao's journey to power was marked by relentless struggle and unwavering determination. His leadership during the Long March, a strategic retreat of the Red Army, solidified his status as a formidable leader. Mao was a figure of immense charisma and authority. His ability to inspire and mobilize the masses was unparalleled. He was not just a political leader, but a symbol of hope and change for millions of Chinese people. His portrait adorned every wall, his words studied with religious fervor. The Little Red Book, a collection of his quotations, became a sacred text for his followers, guiding their thoughts and actions. However, Mao was also a ruthless pragmatist, deeply suspicious of anyone he perceived as a threat to his power or his vision for China. His political maneuvers were often brutal, and he did not hesitate to eliminate rivals or dissenters. He believed that the Communist Party was becoming complacent, losing its revolutionary zeal and drifting towards the very capitalism it had fought to overthrow. This fear of ideological decay was a driving force behind many of his policies. The failures of the Great Leap Forward had dented Mao's prestige, but they had also hardened his resolve. The disastrous campaign, aimed at rapidly transforming China into a socialist society, led to widespread famine and suffering. Yet, Mao saw it as a necessary sacrifice for the greater good. He saw enemies everywhere, within the party, in the government, and even among intellectuals. His paranoia grew, and he became increasingly convinced that counter-revolutionaries were plotting against him. These capitalist raiders, as he called them, were, in his view, undermining the revolution from within. Intellectuals in particular were targeted for their perceived bourgeois tendencies and potential to influence public opinion against Mao's vision. The Cultural Revolution, then, was Mao's attempt to regain control, to reassert his authority and purge the party and the country of those he deemed disloyal. He mobilized the youth, forming the Red Guards, who fervently attacked perceived enemies of the revolution. It was a revolution from above, unleashed by a leader who believed that only through radical upheaval could China be saved from itself. The Cultural Revolution left an indelible mark on Chinese society, reshaping its political landscape and leaving a legacy of both reverence and controversy surrounding Mao Zedong. At the heart of the Cultural Revolution was a campaign to eradicate the four old customs, old culture, old habits and old ideas. These were seen as remnants of China's feudal past, obstacles on the path to a truly socialist society. Anything associated with traditional Chinese culture became a target. Temples were ransacked, statues toppled, and ancient texts burned. Traditional operas and plays were banned, replaced with revolutionary ballets and model operas that extolled the virtues of Mao Zedong thought. This cultural cleansing extended to everyday life. People were encouraged to abandon traditional clothing and hairstyles. Western-style suits and dresses were deemed bourgeois, while long hair on men was seen as a sign of counter-revolutionary tendencies. The attack on the four olds was not merely symbolic. It was a deliberate attempt to break down traditional social structures and ways of thinking, to create a society completely subservient to the will of the party and the teachings of Chairman Mao. To carry out his cultural revolution, Mao unleashed a force unlike any other, the Red Guards. These young revolutionaries were mobilized to reshape Chinese society according to Mao's vision. These were primarily students, teenagers, and young adults, caught up in the fervor of the revolution and eager to prove their loyalty to Chairman Mao. They saw themselves as the vanguard of a new era, tasked with eradicating the remnants of the old society. Organized into paramilitary units armed with little red books filled with Mao's quotations, the Red Guards fanned out across the country, charged with rooting out class enemies and enforcing revolutionary principles. Their mission was clear: to cleanse society of any elements that could threaten the purity of Maoist thought. They held mass rallies, chanting slogans, waving copies of Mao's quotations, and denouncing anyone deemed insufficiently revolutionary. These public displays of loyalty were designed to inspire fear and compliance among the populace. Fueled by revolutionary zeal and unchecked by any authority, the Red Guards quickly became a force of chaos and destruction. Their actions were often violent and unpredictable, leading to widespread instability. They attacked teachers, intellectuals, and anyone perceived as having ties to the old ways. Schools and universities became battlegrounds, with educators and scholars targeted for their supposed counter-revolutionary ideas. Homes were ransacked, property confiscated, and countless individuals were publicly humiliated, beaten, or worse. The Red Guards' actions were not just about physical violence. They aimed to break the spirit of those they targeted. The Red Guards, initially hailed as heroes of the revolution, soon became symbols of its excesses. Their early enthusiasm and idealism gave way to a brutal reality that shocked even their initial supporters. Their unchecked violence and fanaticism would leave lasting scars on Chinese society, creating a climate of fear and suspicion that would linger long after the Cultural Revolution itself had ended. The legacy of the Red Guards is a complex one, marked by both their initial idealism and the devastating consequences of their actions. The Cultural Revolution, driven by Mao's vision and executed by the Red Guards, remains one of the most tumultuous and controversial periods in modern Chinese history. The Red Guards' rise and fall serve as a powerful reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and ideological extremism.